Welcome back to Classy and Chic podcast. My name is Anita, and I'm your podcast host and founder. And I know you guys are wondering, what in the world? We have heard a couple of podcasts in a row from her. Like, what's going on? So I set a goal, and I'm going to show up on here more often. I'm not going to share the goal just yet because as soon as you share it, it seems like something comes up to where you're completely so busy that you can't get it done. So I'm going to keep that a secret, but you will hear from me more often. And what I'm going to do is mix up my podcasts where they're like between 5 and 25 minutes. I will keep the longer ones more towards the weekends. So if you have time in the evenings, you can listen to them. But a lot of the shorter ones will be during the week, so that you can have that weekday recharge and, just know that somebody is out there rooting for you, So today I want to check on you. It is a new year, and I know a lot of people have set resolutions, and maybe you haven't started off right with regards to working towards that resolution, but I want you to know that it's okay, I want you to know that it's okay. You can start over again. I feel like we're hard on ourselves, and I feel like we're our biggest critics at times. I listen to people, and I listen intently, and sometimes I feel like a lot of the things that people go through are self-inflicted because they feel as if they've done too much, they've robbed themselves of their joy, and they feel as if they can't ever come back from what they've done. And I promise you, there's a comeback story for you. There's a comeback story that is waiting for you, but you have to let go of the guilt and the feelings of less than, or whatever it may be, feeling less than because you didn't go a certain place or didn't do certain things at a certain time. There is no time frame to achieve anything in life. I don't think it is, because I feel like people are achieving their goals, and there's a lot of great life happening after certain ages where you think that it wouldn't be. So I just want to remind you not to be so hard on yourself. And you may say, well, I have to be hard on myself, otherwise I will not grow. I don't believe that. I feel like you can be kind to yourself. You want other people to be kind to you, right? But how do you expect that if you're not kind to yourself? So I want you to sit back and just relax for just a minute, because this is something that I try to do every day. When I look in the mirror, I always remind myself that the person I see looking back at me is somebody that God created for such a time as this. And He created me to be beautiful. He created me to be loving and kind. He created me to be smart. He created me to be someone who is walking in alignment with His will. He created me to be someone who bears the burdens of others. He created me to be someone who is flawed. He created me to be somebody who continuously relies on Him. And most of all, He created me to be someone who is authentic. So see, there's no perfection. There's no perfection in my life. I don't believe in being a perfectionist, because I tell you, I have the most flaws, just like everybody else does. But the things that I feel are flaws, and the things that have become flaws in my life, are the things that make me beautiful. I can easily admit when I'm wrong, and I don't mind apologizing. I don't mind starting over again. I don't mind failure, even though it's a hard thing to walk through. But those are things that I've learned over the years that you have to be comfortable with. You have to be comfortable with that. And so I will tell you this story. Whenever I first started blogging, so I have a background in modeling and pageants, and so I knew all about the photography and things like that, but there were a lot of things in blogging that I didn't know about. And I was blessed with a really great blogging friend who took me under her wing and taught me a ton. And she's not blogging anymore now, but I am so grateful for the way that she was so helpful to me. And I made a promise that I would help others as they start their journey. Because you know what? It's so nice to have somebody who just says, you know what? I want to see you succeed just as much as you want to see yourself succeed. And when you have people like that in your life, you should not take them for granted. I believe that oftentimes our biggest failures and disappointments are because of the way that we see ourselves, not because of the way that God sees us. Because if we see ourselves the same way that God sees us, then we would never doubt our abilities. We would never think that we're not enough. And most of all, we would never think that we don't deserve to be happy. One of the things that I hear all the time is I hear people saying, well, I've done so much that I don't deserve to be happy. And that's not true. That's not true. You know, I believe that every single person has walked through something that has changed the trajectory of their paths in this life. But I do not believe that anybody should be walking around life feeling as if they need to be miserable because of the things that they've done. I just don't. I feel like there is room for improvement with everybody, right? You know, that's why I say I'm the biggest person with the most flaws. I can improve in every area in my life. I am not above being a better person in every area. Have I arrived at a point where I feel like I am confident in my own abilities and I love the skin that I'm in? Yes, very much so. Very, very much so. But I'm still growing as well. And I believe that you continue to grow the longer that you live. If you're at a point in your life where you feel like you don't need to grow, you're stagnant. And that's something that needs to change about your attitude, because each day has an opportunity for you to grow and for you to learn from somebody else. So whenever you are able to understand that there is growth in every single day, you no longer look at the day as an opportunity for you to continue down the same old path. You begin to look at the day as an opportunity for you to venture down the path that is meant for you. So if you're listening and you've been hard on yourself because of the things that you've been through, or maybe you just feel as if you can't start over, I'm here to remind you that you can. I'm here to remind you that you can. You know, I love the fact that God is a God of second chances. Now, sometimes we're not people of second chances because we are one and done sometimes, you know, and we look at it like that. But the Bible teaches us about forgiveness. And the more that we read and understand that God wants us to forgive people, forgive ourselves, and, you know, forgive the circumstances that we've walked through, we begin to develop this knowledge that shows us that sometimes people are going to fail us. Sometimes people are going to fail us. And it's our job to be quick to forgive, learn from that circumstance, but also know that sometimes people just make mistakes. And so I'm speaking to the people that have been hurt here recently. Maybe you have walked through something, whether it's family, relational, friendship, whatever it may be. My prayer for you is that you walk in forgiveness and that you walk in love. Because at the end of the day, if you hold on to grudges and you wish bad things upon other people, that's going to come back in your life. And you don't need to be somebody like that. You need to be somebody who is a forgiving soul. And so the more that you forgive, the more you begin to understand exactly how God forgives us. Because there are days when we need forgiveness from God. And he does not come back and say, but you did this yesterday. Or you really, really, really hurt me. And I can't forgive you. He forgives us. And he wipes the slate clean. Now, I know that it is hard sometimes because of the way that circumstances happen. Maybe the way that somebody hurt you. It's hard to wipe the slate clean because there are some circumstances that just, they sting a little bit more than others. And if it seems like it was something that was intentional, that hurts as well. But at the end of the day, in order for you to grow and be who you're called to be, you have to forgive. You have to forgive. And so I'm going to take that and I'm going to spin it. And let's say you're somebody who hurt somebody else. And you're feeling like, well, I don't know how to approach the situation. I don't know if this person is going to forgive me. I don't know if I need to apologize. And tell you something. You grow more whenever you're able to admit the things that you've done wrong. I am the first person to admit whenever I am wrong. I do not mind apologizing. I do not mind admitting when I'm wrong. That's just something that I've developed. And I know it's God in me because the flesh in me would probably be like, in some circumstances, if I'm in the flesh would probably say, I'm not apologizing. You all have those days. We all have those days. Don't let it be a day that we're not prayed up as much as we need to be. Because we're not apologizing. But I'm kidding. I feel like when you realize that your days are short on this earth, you learn how to walk in forgiveness. You learn how to walk down a path that does not hold grudges, a path that does not want the other person to go down a painful path because they hurt you or whatever it may be. You just learn how to live. And I promise you, some of your most beautiful days will be those days that you walk in forgiveness and the days that you admit when you were wrong. I tell you, I have grown so much as a person over the last 10 years. And I think that a lot of it has been because I've walked through hardships. I've walked through very painful situations. I've walked through very rough health situations. But through it all, God has continued to guide me and show me, all of this was for my glory. And if I had to do it again, I would do it again. And I know that sounds crazy to some people. But if you have to walk down a broken pathway in order to get where God wants you to be, you got to have an attitude to where you do it all over again if that was the path that he chose for you. And in the midst of those things that I've walked through, I've learned how to understand that not everybody is going to communicate the same way that I do. I'm one of these people that I love communication. I can talk about anything. And I can now talk about my feelings. When I was in my 20s, I would talk a little bit too much about my feelings. If I was upset, it was, I was going to talk about it right then. And I think that's just something that's an age thing. You learn, okay, everything that I think does not need to be said. And so over time, God just really, I'm a very passionate person. So, if my heart and my feelings are involved, that was something that I was going to share. And I feel like the older that I've become, God has helped me, not only be